Silence is golden. This story starts with Jayapal, who kept a shop in the village. But Jayapal did not sell any goods. He sold advice, and his advice must have been good, because people came from far and near to consult Jayapal. Was he an astrologer? Was he a soothsayer? Or was he a magician? Who knows? Perhaps he was a little of each. One day Vikram, a wealthy merchant, decided that as he was going on an important business trip, he would consult Jayapal, and perhaps it would help to ensure that his journey would be very profitable. Jayapal did not ask Vikram many questions, but just studied his palm for several minutes, then handed him 3 slips of paper, for which he charged 100 silver rupees. As soon as Vikram left Jayapal's shop, he hurriedly read what was written on the slips of paper, wondering whether any advice was worth so much money. The first slip of paper read, "If you go on a journey, do not, when you return, tell your wife what occurred." The second slip read, "When you travel, never eat by the roadside." And the third slip read, "Never take things for granted and never make foolish wagers." None of this advice sounded very thrilling, thought Vikram, but he would do just as Jayapal had written, and then he would see how good the advice was. The following morning, Vikram set out on his journey, taking with him a heavy bag of gold for all the goods he hoped to buy. At midday, Vikram decided to stop and eat. Then, remembering Jayapal's advice not to eat by the roadside, he walked into the forest and made himself comfortable under a big tree to eat his food. As the day was hot and the food very good, Vikram lay back and soon fell asleep. He awoke with a start, realizing that he had slept too long and would never reach his destination by nightfall. So hurrying back to the road, he meant to make up for lost time, but he had not gone very far when he discovered he had left his bag of gold underneath the tree when he had rested. Anxiously returning to the spot, Vikram was relieved to find his bag of gold safe and sound. Well, he thought, Jayapal's advice was certainly good, because if I had eaten by the roadside, my bag of gold would have been picked up by some passerby. Later on, Vikram stopped to have a drink at a wayside well. As he approached the well, he kicked against a fruit on the ground, which looked somewhat like a pomegranate. But what did surprise him was that some of the juice from the fruit splattered over his foot, and an old sore, which had troubled him for months, had now completely disappeared. Convinced that this fruit contained some miraculous healing power, Vikram carefully buried it beside the well, meaning to retrieve it on his return journey. Eventually, Vikram arrived back home, more than satisfied with the business he had done, but heeding Jayapal's advice, he firmly resolved not to tell his wife anything. But he found his wife agog with excitement. "What do you think?" she almost shouted, before he had a chance to even sit down. The Raja has a festering sore, which the doctors cannot cure. Now the Raja is offering a king's ransom to anyone who can cure him. Hearing this, Vikram suddenly remembered the fruit he had buried, and completely forgetting Jayapal's advice, told his wife all about this wonderful fruit. The wife, whose name was Priya, was overjoyed. "We will be rich," she exclaimed. She immediately ran to her neighbor's house to share the wonderful news. The neighbor, a man named Ravi, listened with great interest. That very night, while Vikram and Priya slept, Ravi crept out of his house and made his way to the wayside well. He dug up the fruit Vikram had buried and hurried to the Raja's palace. The Raja, a man of 50, was in great pain. When Ravi presented the fruit, the Raja's physicians were skeptical, but the Raja, desperate for a cure, ordered them to apply the juice to his sore. To everyone's astonishment, the sore began to heal almost instantly. The Raja was overjoyed and, true to his word, rewarded Ravi with a king's ransom. Ravi returned to the village, a wealthy man. The next morning, Vikram went to the well to retrieve the fruit, only to find it gone. He was heartbroken. When he returned home, his wife told him about Ravi's sudden wealth, and they both realized what had happened. Vikram was furious with himself for not heeding Jayapal's advice. He went to Jayapal's shop and told him the whole story. Jayapal listened patiently. "You have learned a valuable lesson," said Jayapal. "But there is still the matter of the third piece of advice. Never take things for granted and never make foolish wagers. Go to your neighbor and make this wager that you can touch something in his house that he cannot." Vikram did as he was told. Ravi, now arrogant with his newfound wealth, laughed at the wager. "Impossible," he said. "But I will take your bet. If you win, you can have anything in my house you can touch." Vikram walked into Ravi's house, which was now filled with treasures. He looked around and then pointed to a simple wooden ladder leading to a loft. "I will touch that," he said. Ravi laughed even harder. Before he was halfway up the ladder, Jayapal shouted to him to stop. "You have claimed your winnings, my friend," he said. "The first thing you touched in this house was that ladder, so take it and go." The neighbor cursed himself for his own foolishness. Vikram was relieved that all he had lost was an old ladder, but at least he had learned a good lesson, and that was a still tongue makes a wise head.